friends, this is Yvonne Davis, your traveling warrior astrologer, and I am bringing this to you from under the stars. Today I have a video for you titled Pluto in Aquarius, Dawn of a New Era, and I am very excited about it. Now, hopefully you have seen my last video about the Trump indictment, because that was also related to Pluto in Aquarius. It was called Harbinger of Things to Come. And we have seen so many other things happening with Pluto in Aquarius. So what's exciting is that when Pluto entered Aquarius, it gave us a sneak preview of what's to come. Okay? And as I'm sure you enjoy watching videos by astrologers, you know that people have been talking about Pluto in Aquarius for a long time. And of course, we were all making predictions. I made one too. I said that it is going to lead to more equality. Then when Pluto was actually in Aquarius, and as astrologers say, that gives us a snapshot of what's to come, because it will station retrograde and move back into Capricorn. It has actually already retrograded. So it'll move back into Capricorn on June 11th. I'm going to show you the chart for that, okay? So basically what I want to say is that now that we have experienced Pluto in Aquarius, we've experienced the direct movement in Aquarius, and what we've seen is not only that Trump was indicted for his crimes in they're technically in New York, legal, in the legal jurisdiction way. And also he is on trial for rape. So these are two things that we have been waiting for so long. And now they're finally happening now that Pluto is in Aquarius. The second thing is that there has been basically a meltdown at Fox News. So Fox settled with Dominion and has this payout that's like $787.5 million. And Tucker Carlson was fired. And so, these are some pretty significant changes, but this is all part of the same thing, okay? This is all part of the harbingers of things to come with Pluto in Aquarius. So I would imagine that you're feeling very, very hopeful now. And I understand that some of you may be thinking, well, what if, Trump still gets the nomination for the Republican Party? And I say, no problem. Because first of all, the primaries are still a year away. A lot can happen between now and then. And secondly, he can't win against Biden. And I do not believe that he can be elected a second time. I've said that so many times. I personally am not worried about him ever becoming president again, because there are just too many people in this country now who are wise to him. Okay, they're not going to let that happen. And that actually includes powerful people in the Republican Party, who hold the purse strings. They aren't going to support him. They don't want to live through another 4 years of Trump. So we really have nothing to worry about as far as him ever becoming president again. We just have to live with his, his bull crap. And eventually he's going to be gone. He is just more and more gone all the time. But Pluto in Aquarius is actually helping with that. It's helping with getting rid of these kinds of people and their old ways of thinking, because that's what Pluto in Aquarius does. And that's why I hope that you've seen my last video. And if you have seen it, I even suggest going back and watching it again, because these two are really supplementing each other, because it's really about understanding what we are looking forward to with Pluto in Aquarius. So it will go back into Capricorn on June 11th, but then it will return to Aquarius in January of 2024 and basically stay there for 20 years. Okay, those 20 years are the dawning of a new era. So I want to give you some examples from history to help you understand what this equates to. So the way that I'm going to explain this is first by saying that I have been reading a lot of literature on the problem of global climate change and other environmental problems that we're facing. Many problems that are pretty devastating. But the global climate change is the one that it usually gets prioritized because it's the most dangerous. And, well, the fact that we're in the sixth mass extinction is pretty awful, too. They all go together. They all come from the same root cause. So anyway, I've been reading the literature and specifically reading a book by Naomi Klein, and some of you may have heard of her. And the book is titled On Fire. And she is, in that book, not only talking about global climate change, but she's talking about this idea that the science of global climate change has led to a social and political and economic chaos. And I was fascinated by that statement because that's exactly what happened back during the time of Copernicus and Galileo and Newton, where these people, back in that day, they were white men, they were looking at the science. Okay, that's all. They were just looking at the science. And then they were saying, hey, this is the science. The planet Earth is not the center of the system. The cosmos, that's what they called it back then. It's not. The sun is at the center. And that was incredibly destabilizing and chaotic for the socio-political power structure at the time, because the Holy Roman Empire was the power structure that overlaid everything else. And so, in a sense, the Pope ruled. And if the Pope said, no, the planet Earth is not the center of the universe, well, it didn't matter what the science said. You're going to go to jail, or you're going to, be burned at the stake. But over time, and I would say probably over the course of about a century, because Galileo actually died in the same year that Newton was born. And what we see is during that century, we see a shift in the paradigm, okay, the worldview. And it was beginning to shift away from religion as the way to understand all of reality. God did this, God did that. They would have constant debates about what God thinks, which to me is so absurd. But anyway, they did. They really did. They constantly debated what God thinks, what God does, what God wants, as if they could actually know. But what's interesting is that there was a shift where people started to move away from what does God think, what does God say, and to science. And part of what led to that change in paradigm was that they thought, maybe the best way to know what God thinks is to look at the science. It's like reading God's mind, And so they started to trust the science. And that was a massive paradigm shift, because that is why we are here today living the lives that we live. Because science led to the Industrial Revolution, which led to our technological world that we live in now. Unfortunately, this paradigm that we live in now, which is ruled largely by science and technology, but also the economic system that sprang out of the Industrial Revolution, which was capitalism. And then ultimately this world where corporations pretty much rule everything. So I call it corporate capitalism, because it's not pure capitalism the way it existed 300 years when Adam Smith wrote about it, which was much more entrepreneurial. Today, the power is consolidated in these mega corporations, and wealth is consolidated in the 1%, as they say. And the problem with this is basic math. I always say, if people could just do basic math, 1 plus 1 equals 2. So the math problem that we need to solve today is, it's a simple math problem. 1 finite planet plus infinite growth, meaning both consumption and population growth, they work together. And I don't mean to imply that everybody is consuming at the same rate. I'm just saying that overall, this idea of infinite growth, meaning infinite consumption, infinite economic growth, infinite population growth, the concept of infinite growth equals extinction. So let me say that one more time. 1 finite planet plus infinite growth equals extinction. That's the basic math problem. So something has to change. Well, I don't think in the time period that we have allotted to us before the problem of runaway global warming or global heating, we don't have enough time to find a second finite planet. Okay, so we've only got 1 finite planet. That's not going to change. That part of the equation is not going to change. And by the way, I think this is part of the math. This planet, this 1 finite planet that we're living on, its resources are now diminished. They are not the same as they were in the past. Okay, so we're living on 1 finite planet with diminished resources, with a hotter atmosphere, plus infinite growth equals extinction. The only part of that equation that we can actually change is the part about the infinite growth. Okay, and so I loved On Fire by Naomi Klein because she did such a good job. I've known this forever. You know, I majored in economics and politics, and I've known this forever. And I didn't understand why people just weren't talking about it. The only person I ever saw talking about it back then was in the book Population Bomb by Paul Ehrlich. That's the only person I ever saw talk about this problem. I guess you could say Malthus. He was talking about this, but he was way ahead of his time. But he could see where things were going. I mean, he could do the math. Anyway, now it's become so obvious that people are finally talking about it. And I love Naomi's book On Fire because she just puts it out there so clearly. Any intelligent person who reads that book will understand that this is the problem. And actually I've read several others that are now talking the same way, because basically what they said is, if we had dealt with this problem 30 years ago when we knew it was a problem, or even 20 years ago when Al Gore came out with An Inconvenient Truth, we might have actually been able to evolve into a new economy. But we haven't done anything. And maybe individuals have tried to do something, tried to change their eating habits, tried to change the way they travel or whatever, change their consumption habits. But overall, as a species, especially those industrialized countries who are having a larger impact, have not done what they needed to do. So the problem is even worse now. And we are seriously running out of time. Basically what they're saying is that because we're running out of time now, and it doesn't look like anything's going to be done that's going to be able to turn the ship around, we are facing a collapse situation. And this may sound like really gloomy news, but actually I have some really good news for you, okay, that the astrology is pointing to. But I think we have to face the reality of the situation first before I talk about the good news. So the reality of the situation is, because we've run out of time, we don't have time now to evolve into a different kind of economic system. Now we have to face this collapse situation, which is revolution. So before we had time for evolution, now we don't have time. Now it's going to be revolution, meaning a dramatic and chaotic shift. It's going to happen one way or another. So let me give you the good news now. The good news is that Pluto in Aquarius is, over the next 20 years, is actually going to help us with this revolution, because that's what Pluto in Aquarius is all about. Aquarius is ruled by the planet Uranus, and Uranus rules revolution, and Aquarius rules humanity. When you put the two together, oh, and Pluto also rules power and wealth. When you put all of that together with Pluto in Aquarius, what you get is revolution. And that's what I talked about in the last video about the Trump indictment and the harbinger of things to come. Okay, we're seeing it even more now. Now it's very clear to me what Pluto is going to bring during those 20 years in Aquarius. It is going to bring revolution. Things are absolutely going to change in the next 20 years. It may not be easy. So I think we need to, really strap in for this, because it's not going to be easy. Revolution is never easy. Chaos and massive change that happens quickly in 20 years is one generation. That is fast. It's not going to be easy, but it has to happen. We don't have a choice, okay? This collapse is going to happen whether we welcome it or resist it. It is going to happen because of the basic math. And also because Pluto is in Aquarius. I will give you another clue about the good news. So the first one is that Pluto in Aquarius brings revolution. So we know it's going to happen. The second thing is that Aquarius is very much about technology. And so while there will be revolution, there will also be technological changes that are going to help with this. So I will give you some examples of how I think technology is going to help us with this. Now, a lot of people are afraid of AI, and I understand. I was afraid of it for a long time too. And the reason why I was afraid of it was because I thought it's going to take away everybody's job, Like, what are humans going to do? We won't have anything left to do. AI will do it all. The robots will do it all. Automation will do it all. Nobody will have a job anymore. Nobody will even have anything to do anymore. But I realize now that was a very pessimistic view, and there actually is an optimistic way to look at this technology, because I believe that one of the benefits of AI is that it can scan massive amounts of information and coalesce it into an answer, a response, almost instantaneously. It's very nascent right now, but as it develops over time, and that's also part of artificial intelligence, is that it actually learns over time. I believe it can actually help us solve this problem, which would be a good thing, because I really don't want to see more species go extinct, and I really don't want to see the human species go extinct, and I don't want to see us continually destroying this planet. It's a beautiful planet. I would like to live on it and enjoy it for the rest of my life, and I would like to see my daughter being able to live on it and enjoy it for the rest of her life, and my grandnephew being able to live on it, enjoy it for the rest of his life. That would be a good thing. And so if AI can help us with that, then I'm all for it. If technology can help us, I'm all for it. We still have to change the system itself, because the system is broken on so many levels. This system that we live in now is based on a form of injustice. Wealth redistribution is happening all the time, every day, every second of every day. But the wealth redistribution that's happening every day, every second of every day, is going up from the 99% up to the 1%. That wealth redistribution is happening every single day, every second of every day. Everything goes up. It's redistributed up. They take our labor, they charge us interest. All we want to do is live our lives, have a nice little home, live a reasonably good life. No, they want to take everything. Now we got to deal with inflation. It's like no matter where you go, no matter Where you turn, they are sucking your blood. They are vampires. And so I can't stand it when I hear people talk about wealth redistribution as, oh, they're going to, this is socialism. They're going to give money to all these people. It's like, excuse me? Excuse me? Wealth redistribution is happening every single second of every single day, but it's going up to the 1%. Let us have something, please. Let me keep my blood, if nothing else. So anyway, we do need to change this system. It needs to change fundamentally. And that's why I'm excited about Pluto and Aquarius for 20 years. We are going to see massive change. It truly is the dawn of a new era. And I do think that there are going to be technologies coming along that are going to help us with that. Fuel technologies, for one thing, because the whole problem with the system that we're in right now is that it's so dependent on fossil fuels. And when fossil fuels are burned, they put CO2 into the air. And that's what's causing global warming. And now, as the planet gets warmer and warmer and warmer, and the permafrost is melting, it's releasing methane. And methane is something like 20 times more potent greenhouse gas than CO2. And that's what's really scary. That's why I said we're running out of time. This problem has to be solved. That's also why I'm excited about Pluto and Aquarius, because it will help us on so many different levels. It's going to help us with shifting our paradigm. It's going to help us with revolution. It's going to help us with changing this political, economic, social system that we're in that is based on injustice. And it's going to help us with technology to solve these problems. And I don't really think I'm talking about geoengineering. I think I'm talking about new ways to power our communities, to power our own lives, new forms of energy, and new ways to transport, okay? But also going back to some low-tech solutions that make sense, like growing food locally. So I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say about this. I can see that, as I have been moving forward with my channel, Trump is less and less and less important. Believe me, he's never going to be president again. He's a has-been. I don't even care if he gets the nomination. He will never be president again. So I'm not worried about him. He's a has-been. But we still have a lot of issues that are really important and need attention focused on them. So I can see that that's where my channel will be moving, in that direction. So anyway, like I said, I'm super excited about Pluto and Aquarius. This is the dawn of a new era. Well, thanks for listening, folks. I look forward to seeing what you have to say about this. And as always, if you want a reading, there's always a link below. I am doing my anti-inflation special, so it's only $99 an hour. That's the cheapest rate I've ever offered. And also, if you want to join in on a Zoom call twice a month, I do that on my Patreon channel. So all you have to do is come over there. It's only $5 a month, and you can be part of that face-to-face Zoom call twice a month. All right, thanks for showing up. Thanks for listening. I look forward to reading your comments and talking to you soon. Bye-bye.